Okay, welcome to a special edition of SEO Rants or Diatribes with Josh Brzezinski. That would be me. It's a special emergency edition because the SEO apocalypse is nigh. It draws near. SEO World War III is coming, as foretold by the appearance of the Cuts. All joking aside, Matt Cutts, this guy who works at Google, you might have heard of him, I'm not sure. The author of Your Destruction has put out a video quite recently, and in it he has spelled out the doom for SEOs and small business owners who didn't know any better for this summer. And he has told us a bunch of stuff that they're working on, and boy is there a lot. And in fact, I got my hands on a site that is going to show us what we're in for. So look forward to that later on in the video. A site that, yes, Google has confirmed that Penguin 2 will hammer, quote unquote. And so you can take a look at this site afterwards. In fact, I'm going to do an analysis of this site on this video. And then we can take a look at it. And if you think that you've been doing the same kind of stuff, then, well, you might start to worry, because apparently this is officially confirmed by Google that Penguin 2 is going to hammer. But anyway, so back to Matt Cutts' video. So let me first go through everything that Matt Cutts said that they're going to do over the summer and kind of give you my 2 cents on it and kind of read between the lines of what actually he's talking about and what this means. And then we'll get on to the site analysis. So first off, Matt Cutts' video. He said in his video, well, basically, if you're doing all the right stuff, if you're doing all the stuff they like, then you don't have to worry at all. That is to say, if you are making, and I quote, great sites that users love, end quote, or that they, quote, tell others about, or that they, quote, bookmark, or that they, quote, come back to. Those are the kinds of sites that are going to survive and thrive at the end after this SEO apocalypse that is coming. So those will be the road warrior type, Mel Gibson types. And those types are sites that users love, so they link to them naturally and they share them on social. That could be a signal. That they tell others about, they share them on social and or possibly link naturally to them. That they bookmark. So that's interesting. I've often wondered if bookmarks are used as a ranking signal in Google. Now, this is not a direct confirmation, but this certainly is a nice bit of correlating evidence that he specifically said bookmark. So heck, it might not be a bad idea to have a bunch of users bookmark your site. It might not be a bad idea to ask users on your site, please bookmark us, especially if you're using Chrome, because that's probably the browser that Google can track the easiest, right? Although they have ties into Facebook as well. And that they come back to you. Returning visitors has already been leaked as a well-known metric that they could possibly be tracking for usage metrics in terms of Panda in particular. And what kind of bad signals will they be looking at over this summer? Well, there are a lot of them. And let it not say that Matt Cutts is one who ever wants to be leave a job half done. He's got like 12 algorithms coming out. Not one, not just Penguin. He's got like 12 algorithms coming out to try and find wee black hat spammers. So let's see if we're going to be in trouble. So the first one is, you probably heard at SMX West, is Penguin 2.0. That's what they're calling it internally, so that's what I'm going to call it. Penguin 2.0 is coming out, and again, it's going to be looking at web spam, quote unquote. He did not mention anything about links there at all. He said that Penguin 2.0 is going to be looking for web spam. Remember, Penguin was originally called the over-optimization penalty, or the over-optimization algorithm. And typically, Penguin 1 looks at keywords, over-optimized keywords on backlink pages that also link through an over-optimized anchor text to over-optimized target pages on the same topic, and that's how they kind of know that it's all over-optimized, and that's how they kind of hit these pages. So it is a linking algorithm per se, but it really triggers on the over-optimization, not just links, because that would be stupid. So I don't know if Penguin 2.0 is going to look at the same stuff. My best guess as to what Penguin 2.0 is going to look at, because he said it's more comprehensive and it, quote unquote, looks deeper. I bet you they're going to start looking at spun text, because Penguin right now doesn't do a very good job of finding spun text. I have tons of sites ranking on spun text right now, for better or for worse, despite my best intentions or not. And I've seen lots of sites ranking on spun text right now. And I mean like crappily spun text, like obviously computer-generated random snippets of sentences just inserted. So as long as you didn't go over threshold on keywords on those, and then it's not duplicated too much, you know, that I've got lots of experiments to show improvement. So I suspect that's what they're going to be looking at next, because that's what I would look at. And that's what I know they're not catching very well now. And that's what the Penguin algorithm kind of does and looks at. Panda could look at that too, as well, because it kind of analyzes text, or seems to. But. Okay, the next one, that's my guess. That's completely my guess. I have very little evidence to back that up, other than the fact that that's what I would do. I'm an academic too. I have half a PhD. I know how these people think. I've been in IT for years, and I've been doing SEO for 12 years. And that's kind of the next step that they need to attack, because they're not seeing it at the moment. But it's a clear, obvious thing that they need to take a look at. So that's just my guess, but I think it's a pretty good one. So if you have a lot of backlinks that are spun, well, I would make lots that are spun so naturally that you can't even tell they're spun. The next one, or my final suggestion, which I'll mention at the end of the video. The next algorithm they're going to be looking at is boosting up the paid link algorithms, looking for quote-unquote advertorials. Now, if you don't know what an advertorial is, it's essentially a guest blog post that talks in a real salesy way and has a nice exact match anchor text link. So really, looking at the paid link algorithm that they're working on, a specific algorithm just to look for advertorials, could very well also hit guest blog posts as well. So if you've been using guest blog posts with maybe this crappily spun text I've been talking about, or just not very well written text, and you have a very commercial, high money keyword exact match query anchor text pointing to your site, and you have a lot of those, that could be bad, especially if that site that link comes from has a lot of those kinds of pages on many different topics. That's the kind of thing that they're trying to trigger on now, and that's probably the kind of thing they're going to try and trigger on better. Because at the end of the day, you know, and they could, but I don't really see any way they could possibly tell a guest blog post is paid for. They have no way of knowing that. All they can tell is that the keywords in it and that the intent of the article and the intent of the linking is too highly commercial. And so they can take a look at if there's a lot of that on this backlinking site, they might penalize that site and no follow all those links. That's probably my guess how that will work. But again, this is just my guess. So we'll have to see how accurate I am. The next thing, that's not all, they got more. The next thing they're looking at is a special algorithm to look at spam-rich niches. In particular, the niches they'll be looking at this time round are payday loans, he said specifically, and also pornographic queries. I don't know what that means. I don't know what he means by pornographic queries. I suspect he probably is talking about herbal pills that help with male enhancement, or herbal pills that help with sexual enhancement, or herbal pills that help with, supposedly help with penis enlargement and things of that nature, or herbal pills that do even more sexual stuff that I'm not even going to mention on this video. But I imagine that's probably what he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about porn, like proper porn, like, you know, pornography, pictures of naked ladies and naked people doing naked sexy things. But I mean, they already have tons of algorithms devoted to those areas, and those areas don't really have a lot to do with payday loans or high value money keyword transaction kind of niches like that. I mean, it's been around. Porn has been around since the internet, before the web has existed. You know, online on the internet. And so I don't, unless they have a specific problem, unless they're doing a bad job in some way of filtering out some porn, I don't see any reason why they would do that. And they don't, historically, they never have bothered to really police the porn areas. SEO for pornography is quite different than SEO for other sites, because they allow so much spam there, because it's naturally spammy. There's spam across the board, right? So I think they might be going into some of these other affiliate-rich markets that have herbal pills and sex kind of products and sex pills and stuff like that. I think that could be the case, but I'm not really sure. Maybe they're going into some kind of quasi-dating, you know, kind of areas. Maybe they're going into that. I'm not really sure. But that doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, Kutz's message is that instead of doing general query analysis, now they're going to start drilling down, if you'll forgive the pun, into specific niche areas, and they're going to start making specific different query rules for those areas, and looking at the spam in those areas and how they spam in these areas and making algorithms to attack those specific things. So 1, interesting. 2, three, yeah, okay. All right, great. Then that's not all. The next one is they're also going to try making algorithms to deny the value for link spammers, quote unquote, upstream. So Barry Schwartz seemed to think that this, and at first I thought this means they're going to be going after more link networks like they already do and they normally do. But when he specifically mentioned you're getting rid of link juice that's upstream, so like over here, there's like an educational blog or a main authority site linking to this site, which links to this blog, which finally you bought a link on and links to you. I think they're going to start going after this side up here. Stop the trust rank from filtering down from academic niches and academic topics and high profile above board topics, filtering down into topics that have nothing to do with that. Like for example, so if someone left a WordPress installation open on some site in the University of Toronto's website, and it links and that site in the department website for paleontology at the University of Toronto, and it links to a mechanic or a chiropractor shop because they bought a link. Clearly that has nothing to do with each other, right? It'd be very easy for them, and this has been a hole in their algorithm for years that I was waiting for them forever to patch because it's so obvious that if there's a link to a mechanic or a chiropractor's site on a paleontology website, clearly the academic authority of that link should not count. So this is what I think they're going to go, because he mentioned upstream and he mentioned how it's going to be, removed from the links over here. I don't think it's just going to be a simple link network thing. Maybe by proxy it'll be a link network thing, because if that link network is getting all its juice because it has a bunch of bought links from the University of Toronto paleontology website, well then that's the kind of thing they're going to be looking at. That if it's a cross topic, clearly that recommendation shouldn't count, and so they're probably going to look at reducing that or cutting that off entirely. Which is why I haven't recommended people buy links like that for years, because I thought any day now they're going to clearly turn that off. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have been recommending this. Although I don't really recommend people buy links at all. If you're going to spend $500, you might as well buy good content, or pay me to fix many other little problems. But I mean, hey, there's many roads, many paths to glory. Well, not anymore, because Google has many algorithms like centurions that will kill you on these paths to glory. Here's the next algorithm. I'm not even half done of what they're doing. They're trying to make another 2 algorithms for a more sophisticated link analysis that are totally different than the other ones mentioned, that will attack links in 2 separate different. Each algorithm will attack links in 2 separate different ways. He didn't mention at all what these algorithms are, but if you take a look at the patents they've released recently, I think we can get an idea of what they might be. My best guess, knowing to the rudimentary degree I do know, they do look at links now. What they're not looking at is when it is posted, how it is posted, in what order it is posted, and where it is posted in sequence with traffic. I speculated about a year and a half ago that when all this panda and penguin craziness started, and I was trying to make my list of likely culprits for what they're looking at so that I can narrow down my empirical testing to test to see what they're actually looking at. And I speculated at the time it would be fairly simple, conceptually, to watch a site, watch if it has any traffic or not. If a site has no traffic, but suddenly it has 10,000 links, well, that is worrisome, because the question is, all these links are supposed to be donated. How can you donate a link to a site when you haven't been to it? How can you recommend a site to your friends when you've never seen it, right? So there's got to be some kind of statistical proportion between the amount of traffic you get and the amount of links you get. And the farther the increase is, the more links you're getting, but the less traffic you're getting, that probably points to spam linking, right? It probably points to you make a site, you fire up SENuke or some such program, and you just start pointing the links at the site. That's why I've always suggested you build links slowly. Many people have, and they've stopped suggesting that because their testing has shown that it's not really important. Also, John Mueller has been asked a bunch of times, and John Mueller says, no, we don't look at that right now, he's always said, because it's pretty common for you to get a site, you go to Marketing Blitz, and then you get a bunch of links. But they might start looking at stuff like that. The sequence it's posted, and they might also, remember Bill Slawski put out a blog post on a patent that they released, 8 or 9 months ago now, that they're also going to be looking at, screwing with the ranking of a site and seeing what webmasters do. See if suddenly the links stop or the links increase, that kind of thing. That can tell them a lot as well. Like if you have a bunch of links, you're getting like 10 links a day, and all of a sudden, or you had 100 links or 1,000, 10,000 links, and all of a sudden you get an enter on a link notice, and right around that time the links go down to 0 or 1 or 2. Well, clearly, if it just drops off like this, well, clearly you were buying links. Clearly you had a bunch of bot links, and you got panicked when you got the unnatural link notice, and so you pulled all your links. So that's there's all these kinds of clues that they can use that one might not get you, the other might not get you, but all of them together start to paint a picture, right? A more accurate picture. Remember, they are terrified about negative SEO. They still have a little bit of a conscience, a tiny, tiny bit of a conscience. They don't want to make negative SEO really easy, because then they have a whole nother nightmare on their hands of SEO turning into negative SEO, which has already started, by the way. And it's getting stronger, and it might get stronger if they are not smart. But they're smart, and this is what I suspect that they're probably doing. There's another algorithm they're coming out this summer. This is all going to be this summer in 2013 about hacked sites. So we don't really care about that unless you hack sites, and if you do, you already know what you're doing, so never mind. Okay, they have another algorithm coming out, and it's Panda Relief. So this one's a good one. A lot of people, and even John Mueller has noticed this, and so he's warned us. He said that your site doesn't have to be better than your competitors. It has to be by far better than your competitors. It has to be head and shoulders 10 times more awesome than your other competitors. And the reason why he said this, and I could tell when he said this exactly what he was getting at, was that they have a lot of edge cases. And so Matt Cutts said that over the summer, they're going to be releasing an algorithm that does border edge case Panda Relief. So they're going to try and much better detect, they'll probably start penalizing by page and not by site, which pages are not performing well with Panda. It doesn't have very good usage metrics, and just penalizing those pages as opposed to that site. So that's a good thing. And that also proves that, of course, they were being much more draconic. And I've seen this again and again, and I knew it as soon as John Mueller said that that's what he was getting at, and he felt sorry for webmasters. That's why John Mueller rocks, and that's why he's the best guy at Google, because I know he actually cares. Because he wouldn't have said something like that if he didn't actually care. As opposed to Mr. Cutts, who I don't think really cares. And I think sitting in his ivory tower has become too removed from the common man, so to speak. The plight of the common man. And he's, quite frankly, thinks he's the moral authority, which he is not. There's another algorithm they're bringing out called a high authority bonus. So to kind of, because they realize, speaking of edge cases, because they realize they're going to catch a lot of edge cases with these penalizing algorithms, now they've got to bring out more algorithms to give a higher boost to higher authority sites. So he has, quote unquote, they're bringing out a high authority, quote, bonus that is going to bubble up sites that have good qualities. So, I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Clearly the system is broken when you have to patch it and patch it and patch it and patch it again and make a patch for the other patches that you're patching. Some possible algorithms that I think they could be using for that they're already using, that they could beef up, is the author snippet. They could be using that as a quality signal, and I do believe they are, and I believe I have proof, which I'll talk about in a second. They could be using the high authority outlink. So if you outlink to high authority sites in your niche, which I know is already a bonus and already a quality signal, they could be using that. They could be using social as a quality signal. And I think they're already using those, and they could beef those up. I think what they're not using, and what they're going to be using, because I know they're going to be using it on the negative side with the bad merchant algorithm, I think they're going to be using co-citation. I think they're going to be using, what is co-citation? Co-citation is where there's a bunch of words and it's related, semantically related to other words, which is how Google works. That's their semantic latent index. But they're going to start actually mining that a little bit deeper. The bad merchant algorithm works by having a sentence like this. This site is the crappiest site ever. This site effed me off. They ripped me off. They're terrible. I hate them. Here's the site. Link. right? They don't want those links to count positively. They want those links to count negatively. In this particular case, to catch bad merchant e-commerce sites. The bad merchant algorithm they announced months ago. They could very well use that as a high authority bonus algorithm for sentences like this. This is the best site ever. I love this site. They're great, great customer service. I love them. Great. Here's a link. That is the kind of link they do want to count. And I think this high authority bonus, possibly, my guess would be, could be using these kind of co-citation signals, plus maybe the other signals I mentioned, to bubble up high authority, high value sites. Because that's something they're not looking at yet. So that'd be the next logical step of where I think they should be going. As far as I know, they're not looking at yet. And as far as John Mueller said, and as far as every other industry expert thinks. So I'm in good company. That doesn't, of course, mean that we're all right, because, of course, fools seldom differ. Okay, and finally, they have another algorithm coming out, which is not such a big deal, but the EMD cluster problem, where you get like 5 results from the same exact match domain. This only happens on search queries where they don't have a lot of good sites. So if that's happening, and it's a high money value niche, put a site there, because that means Google is saying, we don't have any quality sites. I trust none of the sites I can rank here. If you get even a moderately trusted site there, they'll rank it, right? So, but otherwise, it's not really helpful because they're going to be pushing it down to page 2 or page 3 or page 4. Okay, so that is the onslaught coming from Matt Cutts and crew for summer 2013. Did that scare the crap out of you? It should, because it's probably going to be crazy without any danger of hyperbole. So, how do I know if any of that's going to hit me, Josh? Well, I'm glad you asked, question asking person, because I have a leak of an actual site Matt Cutts has specifically, point blank, said, yes, I asked the engineers, and Penguin 2.0 is going to hammer this site, quote unquote. So, I'm not the one outing this site. Someone else already outed this site. And this site is not the sole bit of income for this person, so I don't have to worry necessarily about hurting this person. So I'm going to mention it here, but I'm not the first one to mention it. The site is sellusedlaptop.us. Sellusedlaptop.us. Oh, sorry, it's sellusedlaptops.us. Sellusedlaptops.us. One or the other. And this site was put out in a video, and then on Twitter was discussed with Matt Cutts, and that's where Matt Cutts said, yes, this site is going to get hammered by Penguin 2.0. So if you want proof on that, just search Matt Cutts' Twitter feed. He doesn't post that many tweets, so you'll see it. It was on May 10th, which was a Friday. And so after learning that this site is going to be hit by Penguin 2.0, I decided to take a very in-depth look at everything they were doing. And do not listen to the analysis that was put out by this other person. With all respect to this other person, who's actually a good guy, and we talked about it. It wasn't as accurate as I would be or like to be. So there's no nice way of saying that, is there? So I think he missed the boat on a couple things that are going on here. Maybe because he doesn't do black hat SEO. I do black hat SEO, and so there's no better way to catch a thief than to be one. There's no better way to catch a hacker than to be a hacker. So there's no better way to catch a black hat site than to do black hat SEO yourself. And so I do black hat SEO and white hat SEO as well. But so I also know what's going on in the black hat world, and so I can tell you what's going on with this site. So that being said, however, unfortunately, the site is kind of a dirty site. It in the sense that it has a lot of stuff going on wrong with it right now. It's ranking really well for a couple of bonuses that I already mentioned. It's ranking really well because it has a rating snippet that's properly implemented, because it has an author snippet that's properly implemented, because it has a sufficient amount of links to rank. It probably has really good usage metrics because the design is not half bad, and it better yet, the conversions are not half bad. They probably, I could tell by the design, they probably convert very well. And so they don't get a lot of bounce back and search for other options. They're providing exactly what people want as fast as possible. So they've made a good quality site that is servicing searcher needs, right? Which is what they're supposed to do. And so they are ranking. And they also have outlinks to major authority sites. So it looks like they're a good net citizen, and Google, being run by a bunch of egghead academics, thinks that everyone should cite their sources, and so therefore gives you a boost if you do. At least they did until this was pointed out to Matt Cutts. Hopefully they don't stop giving that bonus because it was a lovely little loophole. And they also outlink to their Google Plus profile, and their Google Plus profile links back to them, so that gives them a little bit more verification that they're a real person, kind of, but not really. It's a fake Google Plus profile. But those are the good things that I can see they're doing. Here's all the bad things I can see that they're doing that Penguin 2.0 might hit them on. One, they have an exact match domain that is a geolocation domain. That, of course, in and of itself is not a cardinal sin. That is not a problem in and of itself. But that, and given that it's on a highly commercial keyword, sell used laptops, coupled with everything I'm about to say, could be a trigger for Penguin 2. I'm trying to speculate now what Penguin 2 might see, because I know for a fact that Matt Cutts said that Penguin 2 will hit this site, according to his engineers. And so, if I take that comment on face value, something out of what I'm about to say is what Penguin 2 looks for, because I was very thorough. The second thing it could look for is that it did have some dupe content. The video that was talked about this site originally said it didn't have any dupe content. Well, it did. I did a quick cursory search and it had a lot of dupe content. Not a lot of dupe, not like a high threshold, not like 100% duplicated, but some duplicated content. Another thing is that it had a lot of devalued backlinks. Its page rank is 2, but its Moz rank is 4.65. So you know automatically if Google has automatically devalued and no-followed some of your, has untrusted some of your backlinks because they're suspect. Because if the page rank is only 2 and the Moz rank is 4.65, Moz rank is a much closer approximation of the original PageRank algorithm. So for sites that are highly trusted, the page rank should be around the same as the Moz rank or maybe a little bit higher, right? So that tells me immediately that over 50% of their links are already being devalued and already untrusted. And when I later on, when I take a look at the link profile, you'll see why. Another thing that they are doing is that they have a huge amount of duplication of keywords in their backlinks. And that is the major problem. Let me see here, about 72%, 130 of their 180 actually followed worthwhile links. They have about 1,200, 1,300, or to 5,000 backlinks or something like that, and only and about 500 linking domains. Only 180 of them actually are followed and passing link juice, and 130 of those, so 72% of those, were exact match query links. Sell used laptops, sell used laptops US, those kinds of exact match commercial anchor text. Very clearly commercial anchors, very clearly spammy. So that is probably what Penguin 2.0 is largely going to trigger on with some other triggers. Now you might be wondering, well, excuse me, Josh, isn't Google already finding that? The answer is no. No, they're not. The proof is that this site is ranking. They're not finding that already. And if they are, it's not, a cardinal sin. It's not like maybe it's not like a site ender, right? It just, as I said, they've devalued. They've automatically found 50% of their backlinks were suspect and automatically ignored them. But they have to worry about negative SEO. And so they can't just go penalizing you because 70% of your links are commercial keywords. Because then negative SEO would go crazy. And I could do a nuke blast tomorrow and put 10,000 links pointing at your site that said, whatever, buy whatever your product is. And you're going to rank a little bit better. And if Google penalized on that, then you would drop. But it's not that simple, right? They have to get a bunch of different signals all together that give them a spam picture. That's too simple of a picture. It's too simple to replicate for negative SEO. So no, that alone is not what they're going for. That's why I said Penguin is about an over-optimized backlink page, which is clearly spammy, that has over-optimized keywords with an over-optimized anchor text pointing to your over-optimized page that has over-optimized keywords. That was the one-to-one correlation they needed for Penguin. Otherwise, if they just hit any site that had a lot of commercial keywords, well, then a bunch of sites that they didn't need to hit would have been hit. They would have ruined their SERPs. It would have been a mess. And the negative SEO would have been crazy. So that's not what they're looking for, right? It's too little alone. That's the major problem I think Penguin 2.0 is going to now target in combination with, as I said, spun text, because that's how people are making spam backlinks these days, spun text with over-optimized keywords. So that's the biggest footprint, the biggest issue they're going to look at. That's the next hurdle they need to get over. There's a couple other things that they could look at, maybe. Because remember, we were told this site will be hit by Penguin 2, so something out of this list is going to trigger Penguin 2. They had disparate topics in their backlinks, so different topics. Like they had different kind of crazy links. Like they had 22 out of 180 URL links. They had 2 image links. They had 5 garbage or random text links. They actually, very interestingly, had 10% of their links, 18 out of 180, were random names. Cheryl, Alyssa, just random names for some reason. And it was said that SE Nuke was used for this backlink profile. It wasn't. Nuke doesn't build links like that. Nuke, if you're using it properly, doesn't leave any footprint, or very little footprint. This was actually, as far as I can tell, Link Aloha version 2. I recognize the profile because I checked out what Link Aloha version 2, or maybe even was version 1, I'm not sure, did. And in fact, if I recall correctly, about a year ago, Link Aloha version 2, when it came out, one of their promotional sites to prove that they could rank sites with this backlinking tool was a laptop site, come to think of it. So this very well could be the same guys, right? So I'm not saying anything bad against Link Aloha version 2, other than apparently Penguin 2.0 is going to crush you in a few months, so I'd get ready, guys. But yeah, that's the type of signature, the type of links it puts out. That's what they tried to do to randomize. In case Google was looking at commercial keywords, they would add random words like that, like names, in the backlink profile, which I thought was odd at the time. There's much better ways to do it, much more natural ways to do it. So unless Penguin 2.0 is specifically looking for Link Aloha version 2, which I wouldn't think it would be that popular because it's not that popular of a backlinking program. You've probably never heard of it because to stay under the radar, they close off their registration after 50 or 100 people or something like that. And I haven't seen any advertisements for it for at least a year. Okay, the other things that they have is that they have a bunch of hidden links. They have comment links that are already likely devalued. They had some links that were display none that were hidden, actually like hidden anchor text and hidden links. That could very well be a problem. That's already a problem, right, for their algorithms. They had a bunch of disparate domains, different country top TLDs linking to them. They had Polish links, Czechoslovakian link, Russian links. Why would a Russian site or a Polish site or a Italian site be linking to this site to sell used laptops in the US? I mean, that's a pretty clear spam signal that I've been harping on for a while, but I couldn't find any evidence that Google was looking for it. They might look for it now. That could be another signal they use. They might be using all these signals. Everything that I've been pointing out here, they might be using, right, to try and detect spam backlinks. Yeah, so I mean, this site doesn't really have any social confirmation. It had one social profile linking to it, but that social profile had no interaction on it, right? So it's clearly just a spammy profile that someone made just for the Google Plus author snippet, right? Which is working. So they'll probably turn that off pretty soon too. So that's more or less what's going on. Oh yeah, and 99% of the links were pointing to the root. They had no links pointing to subpages. So that's what's going on for this site. In terms of on-page, they had the keywords once in the header. It was not bad. They had no alt text. They had no title attributes or alt attributes with stuff with keywords. They had 2.6% keyword density on laptop, plus 1.3% keyword density on laptops. So that's a total of 3.9% keyword density of laptop/laptops on the index page. That's pretty bad. That's pretty high. Penguin 2.0 might trigger on that. That could very well be over-optimized already. If they just ran the original Penguin 1 probably would have found this site. So it's not that Penguin 2.0 might be doing that much extra. It probably is. It almost certainly is. Otherwise, why would they change Penguin 1.0? But I think Penguin 1.0 probably would have found this site because it's that bad, right? It's not that good. They have numerous internal exact match query linking anchor text. That's a no-no as well that the original Penguin found. But good things, they have an address. They actually have an address on their Contact Us page. That's a quality signal that they're actual real people with a real place. They have testimonials, right? That could be a quality signal. I'm not sure. So all the quality things, all the reasons why, all the good stuff could be why they're ranking now, given that they're so bad. And all the bad things I mentioned are things, something in there, or a combination thereof, or the correlation thereof of various signals. Penguin 2.0 is going to hit. If you take Matt Cutts at face value, he has already said on his Twitter, point blank, that my engineers have told me, Penguin, I checked with my engineers why this site is ranking, because someone complained to him, and so he checked. And he said, my engineers assure me that Penguin 2.0 is going to hammer, quote unquote, this site. So if your site sounds like this one, and if you check it out yourself, selluselaptops.us, if it's still online. If your site sounds like this one, then get ready for an eventful summer, as Matt Cutts so aptly put it. So the question is, what do I do? Josh, if this is where I'm at, and if I think these things are going to hit me, what do I do? Well, one, do not jump the gun. Do not overreact. Do not go and take your sites down and buy bottled water and get a shotgun and wait for the zombie apocalypse. That would be a slight overreaction, as fun as it might be to do. What you should do is leave your sites. If you have any really spammy link that you're paying for right now that you know is really spammy, it's exact match keywords, change it to a random natural sentence, like click here or great site or something like that. Or if it costs you a lot of money, stop paying for it now. Stop paying for it now, and maybe you'll get lucky, and that was what Penguin 2.0 would have found and hit you on, and maybe you saved yourself some money. And then after everyone gets hit and people know better what Penguin 2.0 finds, maybe you can think about putting it back. Otherwise, leave your site alone. Leave it alone. Do not jump the gun. Do not have a knee-jerk reaction and shoot yourself in the foot. It's pretty good how many metaphors I can string in a single sentence. What you can do now is, if you have a little bit extra cash, do not dump that cash into existing sites that you think could be at risk and have these kinds of profiles and footprints I've been talking about. Instead, what I would do is I would take that money and I'd reinvest it in a new site. And I would make a new site with all fresh design, all fresh content on the same topic. And I would just dump it into content and design and building up to be as super awesome as possible, and really plan, how can I satisfy searcher needs? What do they want to do? And let them do that in the first 500 pixels in big, bold letters with flashing. Don't actually use a blink tag, but very obvious. Here, you want to sign up? Sign up here. You're like, make it very obvious they can sign up. Don't just make the site about a condensed order page. Don't make it a squeeze page. Have other text there, have other pages with other text there, and inform them, edify them, titillate them. Give them funny stuff, give them interesting stuff, give them charts, give them graphs. But whatever it is, the first thing that they want to do, the thing they want to do the most, let them do that in the first 500 pixels. So build a great site like they're talking about, that users love, that they'll tell others about, that they will bookmark, that they will come back to, because those are the good signals, right? And all the other good signals I mentioned. Outlink to high quality sites. Try and get an author snippet if possible. On that Google Plus profile, actually have some interaction. Get a rating snippet if possible, right? Now, and then what happens, don't do any backlinking to it. Backlinking, if you get natural backlinks, great. Do social on it. Because did you notice here, nowhere did they mention they're making a social algorithm to look for social spam. Because there's really no such thing. If you're doing social properly, they can't catch it, right? Because it's natural. And plus, Twitter's not their domain, Facebook is not their domain, Pinterest is not their domain, and, well, Google Plus is their domain, so they will police that. But the other three, they can't police because it doesn't belong to them. So those guys have to worry about spam on that end of things. And spam really is subjective, right? If you're posting content and people are retweeting it, repinning it, sharing it, liking it, commenting on it, that's not spam because someone liked it. So I would look, if you're worried about this at all, if you think that your site could even possibly be hit by this stuff, I would mitigate your risk. I would not have all your eggs in one basket. I would put another egg in another basket. And that basket is called the White Hat Social Basket, with good quality content and an awesome site that is going to satisfy. Now, what happens? What happens if you don't get hit and a few months go by, a few iterations go by, and you don't get hit? Fine, great. Pick whatever site is better and copy it over. Or either point all your great link juice to the White Hat site, or copy the White Hat content over to your Black Hat site that you thought would get hit. If it doesn't get hit, it's probably not Black Hat. Or if your Black Hat site does get hit, great. You've already invested in this great White Hat site. It could start ranking immediately if it's got the right signals and a lot of people are hit. And all you need to do then is start pointing very careful links at it after the fact, once we know what Penguin 2.0 is going to hit for sure. So this, my Airword zombie hunter, is what I think the SEO landscape is going to look like after this SEO zombie apocalypse is going to occur, and Matt Cutts unleash his zombie horde of penguins to eat all of your spam. So there you have it. I wish you luck. If you have any questions about any of this, and you might consider doing an SEO analysis before it's too late. You might consider getting someone, namely me, to do an SEO analysis before it's too late to find all these problems so you can clean them up so you can avoid getting hit by Penguin 2.0. Because let me tell you, they do not run that algorithm very often. They run it once and then they leave you for 6 or 8 months to languish in penalty, and there's still people who haven't gotten out of it because they have to rerun the algorithm to get out of it. So contact me and I'll do an SEO analysis for you. And I will tell you whether or not I think you're in danger of any of these problems. So that's all I have for today and my special emergency SEO diatribe from Josh Brzezinski. You can contact me at joshbrzezinski@gmail.com, at Twitter at Josh Brzezinski, on YouTube at /jbachins, JBACHYNS, on Google+, Josh Brzezinski. Send me a letter. Send a letter to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and just say, give this to Josh with the red hair does SEO. They'll gallop up and give it to me. And we'll all be right and good with the world. And I hope you survive the zombie apocalypse. And I'm going to drink some beer and play video games. Okay, bye.